The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Scottsdale, Arizona, on your new fire apparatus, job number 31325. Please utilize this job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. Let's get started on a brief orientation of your new fire apparatus. Let's start down at the front bumper area. First, starting on the front bumper face, you'll find 2 siren locations and audible speakers. You'll also find in the center your PA siren speaker. Moving to the far right, which is your driver's side, you'll find dual air horns. Moving to the side of the apparatus, you'll find an emergency warning lights. Moving up onto the top of the grill area, you'll find a right and left turn indicator, and you'll also find your headlight cluster. The low beam is on the out section, and the intersection is the high beam. Moving up from that location is where you'll find your emergency warning lights forward facing, and then just underneath the Pierce logo or behind the Pierce logo is where you'll find the release for the hood. Here are some close-ups of those images that we just spoke about. Just underneath the Pierce logo or slightly behind where you can see the hand placement, this is the latch mechanism to release the hood. Once the hood is open, you'll find on the passenger side the refill location for your windshield wiper fluid. You'll also find on the driver's side cab raise instructions and cab lower instructions. The red quarter turn is going to be the information where you would select either to raise or lower the cab. The yellow with the black push button remote is the activator. Moving to the right, you'll find your power steering fluid, Dextron 3 refill, and then you'll find the release mechanism for your door lock. Moving up onto the seamless one-piece windshield, you'll find 3 windshield wipers, and all the way to the top or brow of the apparatus, you'll find 5 running lights. Located in the center, you'll find a forward-facing floodlight. Moving up from that onto the very top, you'll find emergency warning lights, side-facing and also at a 45-degree angle. The Opticom is located just over the driver's seat, and then just above you'll find 2 individually controlled go lights or spotlights. Let's take a look at the tip of the aerial. This is a release mechanism to allow you to remove the waterway from the tip and pin it to a lower section. Located on the top, you'll find forward-facing floodlights that are adjustable. And then you'll also find your MasterStream device. Control for the MasterStream device is also located on the tip. We'll talk about some of the items in the next 7 images, but indicating now are those 2 forward-facing lights. There is also a speaker located here for communications to the pedestal area. Generalized view of the apparatus now, and as we move through some of the images, we'll talk about some of the individual components next. Let's go ahead and start on the driver's side of the vehicle. You'll find a side-facing bullet-style camera. You'll also find your auto charge system. This is a Kusmal Electronics. It will activate when plugged into shore power. This is your shoreline inlet. This is a 30 amp auto eject plug. Located near the rear of the cab of the apparatus is where you'll find your indicator for your tank level. You'll also find in the pump panel area an additional speaker system. Moving across the top is where you'll find your foam A, that's the green area. As we move into the gray area, you'll find your master intake, that's the gauge on the left, and the gauge on the right is your master discharge. Between the 2 of those gauges is where you'll find your test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. And then moving to the upper right-hand corner, you'll find an amber indicator regarding your PCM fault and an audible speaker alarm just beneath that. Your vehicle is equipped with a Husky 12 foam system. Those are the specification placards for it. You have crosslays number 1, 2, and a 2.5-inch crosslay. Those are all 3 foam capable. And as you look to the right, this is your foam module. Moving further to the right is your Pierce pressure governor. And then as we move down to the very bottom, you'll find the control module for the push-to-talk for your speaker system. You do have electronic valves. You can see they're clearly indicated here. This is the driver's inlet, and then as you move further over to the right, this is the rear inlet. Moving further over, you'll find in red the number 1, in blue the number 3, and then all the way to the far right you'll find your aerial discharge, and this is a wheel valve, not an electronic valve. To the far right you'll find your fire pump primer, and then as we move all the way to the left, the next set of valves, this is your tank fill recirculating and your tank to pump. Down at the very bottom here in this section, you'll find your Pierce minimum maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 psi test pressures. And you'll also find some warning placards here that only trained personnel should operate this vehicle, and that you should consult the operations manual prior to use. There are some also danger placards on your vehicle regarding electrical contact activity, and also warning for riding on the side of the apparatus. We'll talk a little bit about some of the items down here below, that those are discharge drains. First, show some close-ups of that speaker system, your communication device. And here is your master intake and master discharge gauges. Moving further down, you'll find your Pierce foam system module and also the push-to-talk for your communications device. Let's move now to the center section first for this minimum operation maintenance schedule. You can see that your job number is also on this placard. You have a 150, 200, and 250 psi test pressures. You also have the associated RPMs with each of those test pressures and also PSI. Let's go ahead and move down just beneath this. You'll find this access door next to the primer drain and flush valve drain. Those are twist, not pulls. But inside this compartment is where you'll find your manual pump shift override. It is a protected switch with an amber indicator. And then just above that, you'll find the foam handle regarding instructions on the left for how it operates. On the left-hand side of the panel, you're going to find the passenger side floodlight and aerial generator PTO. You'll also find on the side panel here some warning indicators regarding entanglement hazards due to those hose coming out. There's a small latch that you can also release to allow those speed loads to be removed and reloaded back and forth and loaded on the ground or stored back into the apparatus. You will find just at the very bottom, once again, riding on the apparatus is not advised. There is a fall hazard. There is also a warning label here regarding pressurized caps and the associated hazards while removing them. And also here information regarding a warning not to mix foam types. Down at the lower section you'll find your auxiliary foam functions for inlet strainer. And on the very far right, because it's an electronic valve, you'll find the override. This is where you would activate for that override. To the far right is an air inlet chuck. As we move down to the left, you'll find the number 1 and number 3 discharges. These are 2.5 discharge ports. They are electronic valves, and so therefore there is an override associated with those, and you can see the required tool for that. The Pierce logo with the American flag eagle logo. This is the large diameter intake. Down in the lower right hand corner you'll find the auxiliary inlet, 2.5 inch, and then the associated drains across the very bottom, color coded and individually marked. Once again, here are some close-ups of those images as we look through. Let's go ahead and move into the very first compartment. Let's start in the upper left-hand corner first, and we'll identify some of these items. First, let's start at the top with the S1A. This stands for shore power. It is the first breaker. And as we move to the right, you'll find the compressor when plugged into auxiliary power or shore power. Moving to the right, this is your auto charge system, once again activated when plugged into shore power. Moving to the left, this is going to be your Harrison generator module for amps line 1 and 2. And then you'll find just beneath that the G1, which stands for the generated power. That is the breaker box for it. Here's the information on the current. It is a 10,000 watt generator. This is a G1 for the breaker box here. As we move just up from that location, this is the Harrison Hydra generator. You can see the AC volts and lines 1 and 2. SA or S1A stands for the shore power, breaker box 1. Let's go ahead and move now to the center compartment roll-up door. As we look just beneath that, you'll find this is the outrigger that moves, and so therefore is a crush warning label here. There's also an indicator regarding danger that this is an electrical conductivity issue if your ladder comes in contact with power lines. Let's look up to the next, or in the compartment itself with the tool board. You'll find once the tool board is open on the hinge side, there is a release mechanism to allow you to restore it back to its original locked position. The arrow indicated its location. You also have SCBA bottle storage. Just beneath that, you have your DEF 4.5 US gallon blue cap. This is the fill location for that. As we move to the outriggers, this is your individual camera here regarding the location of those outriggers. You can see you have one front and rear on the sides. Just beneath that, you'll also find an additional bottle storage location. And as we move down to the next pan style door, you'll find this silver cap. This is your ultra low sulfur diesel. Moving to the rear compartment, you'll find adjustable shelving that also pulls out and also tilts down. The mechanisms are easily identifiable. Underneath, you'll find the outrigger pads. There is one located here and then also on the opposite side. You'll find in between there, you'll find your hydraulic oil reservoir. You'll find your inclinometer. And then as you look down, you'll find this gray mechanism. This is simply to identify when the step is open. When the compartment door is open, you'll also find inside, this is the control modules for maintenance. We're now to the rear of the apparatus where your hose bed lights and rear scene lights are located. Also in the small compartments, you'll find the aerial stabilizer controls. Let's go through some of the items here. First, starting at the top with the diagnostic interface module control plug-in. You have a green indicator. You have an override for hydraulic power and level assist. You have driver side stability control and rear stabilizer control. So one stabilizer in the rear, two in the front. Located on the rear of the apparatus is where you'll find your electronic aerial waterway shutoff. And you'll also find two attachment points for the rear of the apparatus. There are these warning labels that you should not pull above the level of the eyelet. Moving further down, you'll find a warning label regarding pressurized caps and the associated hazards. And then once again, you'll find that crush label here regarding warning, and also a pan style door where you'll find your aerial drain behind that. To the right, you'll find your inclinometer for left to right, and then beneath that, you'll find a pressure gauge here for your inlet pressure. Moving further over to the right, you're going to find an aerial drain. This is a twist, not a pull, in addition to the one just inside the compartment. As we access two latches here, we'll find out what's behind here next. You'll find first your aerial emergency override or stabilizer override. You'll find the associated switches color-coded to the left and right, and then you'll find the gray, which is your extension and retraction, rotation, and also your up and down. Just inside, you'll find the drain location for your aerial device. In the rear section, you'll find your ground ladders and also long tool storage. Located on either side, you'll also find a folding 10-foot ladder and also ground ladders, and then also your pike poles and long tool storage. Let's go ahead and take a look at the rear of the apparatus. This is where your backup camera is located. Just beneath the backup camera is where you'll find your traffic advisor. And then once again, because you have an upper section where you have hose potentially coming out of those areas, there is an entanglement warning hazard in that area. We're now to the side of the apparatus where you'll find in that side compartment you have a shoreline generator outlet. It's combination. It's a 15 amp outlet. You'll also find once again those warning labels and danger labels regarding crush and also for electrical conductivity. As we move through the rest of the compartments, you'll find LED lighting and also roll-up doors. You'll find the combination of shoreline generator outlets that are 15 amp throughout the apparatus. As we look into the compartment just next to the midsection of the pump panel, you'll find a push button here. This is for your cord reel rewind. This is a 20 amp 200 foot cord rewind. And then you'll also find you have 12 volt barrel style access here and also the plug access. Moving to the panel itself, just beneath, you'll find the water strainer. Moving to the right, you'll find once again, because an override electric valve, you'll find this override. And then as we move, once again, warning labels regarding pressurized caps, and then also writing on the side of the apparatus, not advised. Moving down, you'll find in the center the Pierce logo and also the American flag eagle large diameter intake. To the right, you'll find the number 3 discharge, orange, and the override, and then green, your large diameter discharge and an override. Moving down from that location, you'll find the water strainer drain. This is a twist, not a pull. And then down at the very bottom, you'll find all the associated drains for those discharges, color-coded and also labeled. Just a quick note on discharges. First, 1 through 3, or I should say odd numbers, are going to be on the driver's side, and even numbers are going to be on the passenger side. Let's go ahead and go through some more options here available on your apparatus. Let's start with this next image on the passenger side. This is once again that bullet style camera, rear facing. As we move through, you'll also find, as you did on the opposite side, those indicators for your cameras for aerial placement for your stabilizers. Moving up onto the pedestal is where you'll find your inclinometer from 0 to 10 degrees negative, or from 0 to 80. You'll also find your protection here for fall for firefighters. Those simply just move up and out of the way. As we look to the center in this compartment on the pedestal is where you'll find additional information regarding the aerial manual control and also calibration. And you'll also find tipping hazards regarding the use of these overrides. As we move to the top of the pedestal, you'll find first this red indicator, which is an emergency stop push button. You'll also find to the right your MUX system, which is your Pierce control module, which you can scroll through and have a variety of information. There's also a section broken down into 3 areas. First, the area for your deployed or stowed for your nozzle, the nozzle control, and then also ladder controls to the right. The upper switches are your tracking lights and tip lights, in addition with your emergency hydraulic power and your protected aerial remote control activation. Let's move to the left. This is on the cover itself for your Ascendant aerial. You'll find the waterway dry with a 35-mile-an-hour wind condition. The table associated with that, also waterway charged, 35-mile-an-hour wind condition, and the table associated with that. You will find nozzle monitor positions, and I would like to point out just beneath that there was some asterisks. Please review those. This is your 4-section aerial. We'll talk about some of the items within this area next. We'll now go ahead and talk about some of the items on the tip. First, let's start with on the last fly. You'll find 2 fold down standing positions. You'll also find tool storage locations. As we move to the tip itself, let's point out on the left-hand side, gray box, this is a switch for those tip lights. Moving to the black box with the red button, this is for your aerial control. This is a stop. Moving down to the lower section, this is going to be your nozzle controls. Just underneath this black box here with the red switch, you'll find your aerial controls here. Close-up of the tip or function controls for the stream. And then on the right-hand side is where you'll find your 20 amp outlet and also your control module for your speaker or intercom. Let's go ahead and move to the midsection. You'll find an additional tool board. Remember that there is a release mechanism on the hinge side. As we look before and aft of the rear tire, you'll find bottle storage locations with straps for those bottles. Let's go ahead and look just slightly above this location is where your cord rewind is, and also the 200-foot cord itself. Let's go ahead and look in the dunnage area. You'll find your water tank fill location and also your foam A tank fill. Moving up on top is where your Harrison hydraulic generator is located. On the left, you'll find the level of generator hydraulic fluid. And now we'll move back inside the cab. I would like to point out that you have 2 forward-facing and 2 rear-facing seats. As we look through, there's plenty of compartment space. Inside those compartments, you'll find LED lighting. There is on the doghouse, you'll find 12-volt access. And also in the center is where you'll find access for oil and transmission checks. You'll also find behind the rear seats of the driver and passenger is where your speaker system is located for your monitor, for your main unit radio. As we move to the driver's seat, I would like to point out a few warning labels here regarding utilizing your seat belts when in use. And also at all points of entry, you'll find those warning and hazard labels regarding firefighter safety. Down on the right hand side about right ankle, we'll find the Pierce placard. We'll talk about that in a moment. You'll find window controls for all 4 of your windows located on the driver's left side. Down about left knee height, you'll find your tech module, engine, transmission, and ABS diagnostic port, and also your display port. Just beneath that, you'll find your engine diagnostic and ABS diagnostics, and also your regen inhibit and DPF regen switches. Moving up from that location is the quarter turn battery. This is your master on-off switch. Moving down, once again, right ankle area, you're going to find manufactured by Pierce. This has specific fluid capacities for your organization. Also, you'll find this placard regarding the gross vehicle weight rating, VIN number, fluid capacities, tire pressures, and also your job number. Also located in this area, you'll find a specific call out for specific fluid types. Let's move to the dash area, first with the ignition and start switch, and at the very top, the red emergency hazards. Moving just inside of that, you'll find your emergency master, headlight control and parking lights, and also your panel dim rocker switch. On the gauges, you'll find a transmission oil DEF level and water temperature, speedometer and tachometer. You'll also find volts, fuel, front and rear air, and then any diagnostic information above and below the speedometer. Moving to the steering wheel itself, you'll find controls here for the headlights and also emergency lights. Your front is also associated with an airbag located in this column. Let's look as a general view here of the inside of the dash, and we'll move through those components. First, starting on the left, you have a protected pull to apply your system parking brake, push to release. Moving to the right, you'll find your system muck system. This is going to be for your Pierce information, tremendous amount of information at your fingertips. Moving to the right, you'll find your Allison transmission pad. And then moving further to the right, you'll find the aerial master, aerial generator PTO. You'll find your stabilizer cameras, an air horn, electronic siren, mechanical siren, and siren brake. Just beneath that, you'll find your engine brake on and off, engine brake low, medium, and high settings, to future locations, off-road traction, and front wheel lock. Moving from right to left, we'll find the disengaged retarder when the vehicle is on wet surfaces. You have an stationary OK to pump while rolling indicators, water pump and foam system, and above that you have the driver's side go light. Just above that is where you'll find your mirror controls for left and right mirror. Moving to the center above that area, you'll find your pump pressure. You have two tank visions, one for your water tank and for your foam tank. Located in the center, you'll find your climate control for heat, air conditioning, and defrost. Over the operator's head, you'll find your height, length, and gross vehicle weight rating. Once again, this is coming from the manufacturer without any changes, and it also has your job number. Let's go ahead and go overhead and we'll review some of the items in this area. First, starting at the emergency master, roof light, a front warning light, side warning, lower rear warning, upper rear warning, high beam flash, and then your opticom. These are all switches when pushed will illuminate. Moving to the right, you'll find your traffic advisor. Moving further to the right is where you'll find your federal signal. This is for your PA system and also your siren. To the passenger side, your vehicle once again is equipped with an SRS supplemental restraint system. You'll find a map light on the upper right-hand corner just above the handle. And on the left-hand side, you'll find your air horn, electronic siren, and mechanical siren. Also in this same area is where you'll find the passenger side go light, which is the spotlight overhead of the officer seat. General view here of some of the items here. We'll cover those next, starting with a Panasonic radio. You also have a speedometer on this side and also a high-intensity map light just above. To the left, you'll find the weather band Panasonic radio. It also has an auxiliary input. To the right, you'll find your speaker and siren control. On the passenger side center console is where you'll find two 12-volt barrel style, in addition with a parking brake. Moving forward to that location is where you'll find your vehicle data recorder port. Generalized view, looking from the front to the rear, you'll find those two forward-facing SCBA seats with compartments on either side. And then looking forward, you'll find in the center two rear-facing SCBA seats. Congratulations, Scottsdale, Arizona, on your new fire apparatus, job number 31325. If you have any questions in regards to the content of this video, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Congratulations.